Hey everybody, this is Monk here, just popping in at the beginning of the episode to let you know that because of the themes and the topics that we're going to be covering, we just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up that we'll be talking about marijuana, drugs, and all that kind of fun stuff. So if that's not really your bag, then feel free to step out for the week, and you can catch us next week at the same pool time and same pool channel. But if not, you're more than welcome to tag along, and let's have some fun talking about outer space. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Pullbox Pals. I am Mad Nerdy, and as always, I'm joined with my buddy Monk, and Monk's got a couple things to say.
I have nothing to say. I've never had anything to say ever. Me having a podcast is completely redundant. I'm just kidding. I've got too many things to say, probably. People would tell me to shut up, probably, in some circles. But so you and I got reached out to a couple months ago to check out a comic. We checked out that comic. We really enjoyed that comic.
Had some good laughs.
We had some good chuckles. We had a good review. And we ended up reaching back out to the creators and asked them if they wanted to join us sometime for a little chit-chat. And we are joined this week by Ben Collins and Eric Allred. Am I saying that correct? I just remembered I wanted to ask.
Yeah, it's Allred. Yeah,
Allred.
Just like it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But... And Ben, I kind of cut you off with your little wave. How you doing?
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Oh, no problem. I feel like we're covering like most of the United States. I'm a little bummed that there's not there's one time zone missing, I believe, if I'm correct.
Yeah, Mountain.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm.
If only.
I think that's where my buddy Will is.
Oh, Will.
Hey, Will.
Will,
just like a random, like you just had to be on. He probably might be.
Wow. Let's see if he comes.
He's a big supporter.
Awesome. Right on. When I saw you guys repost, like I saw like 5 p.m. Like, no, they got the time wrong. Like, oh, CST. Got it.
Yeah, I need to actually start putting that tag on it because I don't even think about it. I mean, social media game is not as strong as it needs to be.
Yeah, no worries. I think we got it figured out.
Dude, social media, like trying to game the algorithm is like, it's a tricky thing.
Yeah. You just got to keep plowing ahead.
Yeah, I mean, what do they say? Content is king, and I hate that. I hate that came out of my mouth.
Just like the Wall Street equivalent for modern days, like greed is good. No, content is king.
Yeah, it's just like it makes me feel so old, like doing social media, man.
Yeah,
but he's the one that's like busting all our stuff out. He's handling it a lot of the time on Instagram.
Yeah,
he's got the Facebook.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, we
just started.
We split the duties here, and I mean, I have a band and like stuff like that, and it's just all the like trying to stay on top of like all the stuff that you got to post and just like how often and like what's a good time. But anyways, for people who aren't content creators out there, so I don't know. Do you guys just want to do a little bit of a introduction? How did you guys meet? Or that would be a good place to start. Look at me, I know how to interview. How'd you guys meet?
Yeah. Do you want to go, Eric?
I moved to Austin in like 2007 and like late 2007 and started working at a local like little record store, used DVD store, and that's where sort of me and Ben sort of met. He was already working there when I was hired on, but we just sort of like vibrated very similarly with,
buybacks is what it was called.
Shout out to the now defunct buybacks.
Yeah, a creative title. What do we do? Buy things back.
That was a great title.
Yeah.
I know
Money
exactly what I'm
sign for
getting
an
myself
S.
into.
Yeah, money sign S. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
Wow. That's great. So, and now Ben, how long were you there before Eric showed up?
Oh, maybe just a year. I was working at GameStop and I quit, and I was just like living on a friend's couch for some reason for 3 months, and a buddy was like, "Hey, come work at this record store. You can just put CDs out and movies all day." I was like, all right, that sounds good. Yeah. And I ended up working there for 4 or 5, almost 5 years, and met Eric, where we realized pretty quickly that we sort of were on the same level as like what we liked and storytelling, that sort of thing. At the time.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Keep going.
Well, I was just saying at the time, I know he doesn't see it this way, but I was like, he's a real screenplay writer. He has a degree. He's from Chicago.
It's nothing.
Yeah, that's right. From Chicago is a credential.
There's definitely
I
worse
wanted
things
to write
outside.
And so like it started as everything we were writing was like screenplays, and he was doing more of the writing. I was just like, yeah, that would be cool. And I'd never written anything. I was still going to community college. But then I think
we did like a couple of like little short skits and stuff like that.
That's true.
And then we sort of reconnected like years later. And yeah, it was just like
we plucked this idea from when we worked at the record store. We were just like we were sitting outside. It's like we had a lot of time on our hands. We'd take the phone outside around the corner and just sit. And people would be like, "We'll be in a second." And we had this stupid idea, like, what if like 2 burnouts or stoners were for whatever reason the last hope, instead of like your typical like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Predator.
Yeah.
Like these guys that they're like, we got drafted into what now? And then they actually ended up being at the center of it. We don't know why, but we just thought that would be kind of a funny idea. Essentially like a Stripes, the Bill Murray movie, but with like intergalactic war.
Classic.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that's such a fun premise. I know when we reviewed it initially, I thought it was just a really fun, like I'd never really like thought of just in the intermingling of like, I mean, I have thought about stoners and like aliens, obviously that's a direct connection, but then kind of going in the middle of them being the army, or like them being like the defense against that is like, oh, never would have like kind of pictured that, only just kind of like, you only just like hear about like stoners or druggies kind of just interacting with aliens in their own head, or like tripping,
they're like the side character. They're always made to be like really dumb and stupid, and I mean they do have some dumb moments in these books for sure, but like you're still just a regular person.
Yeah
Right.
Or just like played for laughs. And I mean, I know I saw the stigma around marijuana obviously like has changed a lot over the last 10 years, like it's very much so changed, but I do still see like depictions of stoners in movies as like just kind of dumb burnouts. And obviously they exist, or that kind of stereotype wouldn't exist, but there are like functional stoners and like people who get high and go to the office and things like that,
No, that was like a realization for me in like my early 20s, back when it was still illegal and you couldn't just go to a shop and buy it. But like it dawned on me one day when I was like downtown in my hometown, I'm like, I am not the only high person here. And like I bumped into other people that like also had like toked up before they went outdoors, and it's just like it was such like a common thing, but you didn't talk about it. And now we're at a stage in life where we can talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just sort of a fun sometimes. I mean, you like anything, you don't want to overdo it, but just like something to do, which is a recreational thing. Like I don't really drink so much anymore, so this helps every once in a while.
Yeah,
makes everything better. Like,
yeah, no, and like to me, it's just like there's no difference for like if you come home and enjoy your glass of whiskey after work. There's nothing any different to me than coming home and having a 5 milligram edible. Like, it's the same. Like, kind of gets that edge off and lets you go about the rest of your evening and just be cool. But
maybe watch something you wouldn't normally be able to watch, like get through.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Although,
just
if I do drink whiskey, it is.
Yeah,
it is. It is dangerous. I see. I really like whiskey, but I feel like I haven't like built up that tolerance of just being able to like sip and just sit and sip whiskey. Maybe I haven't found the right one, but I've definitely tried to look cool at several different bars throughout my life and just be
that's one of the main functions of whiskey.
Yeah.
Pretty much just to make you look cool and just be like, I'm different.
And sound cool. Terrible. You can order it. Give me that whiskey straight.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. And then like the bartender was, I'm thinking about one particular instance. I was at like the watering hole for my old like high school friends and all that stuff where they hang out. And like a kid I went to high school with was the bartender there, and I'm like, give me a whiskey, straight. And he's like, really? Like, why I'm gonna just do this to you? I know you don't want this. I'm like, please, I want to look cool so bad.
Everyone's watching.
Just a hand ornament.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm just like, tastes like gas. So I wanted to ask this question earlier. What was the first thing that you guys like super bonded over? Do you remember? Were you like, whenever I see like DVDs and stuff, I always think about Zoolander, because I think Zoolander came out in like the peak DVD era.
Well, I know this might not be like the first thing, but Lost for sure.
Yes, Lost was a big thing.
We were watching that. I mean, he got me into it. I caught up on like 5 seasons just to watch the 6th season new. So we hammered that every week, new episode of Lost.
Yeah. I've gotten many a person hooked on Lost, but Seinfeld was probably also a very early quotable.
Those fans are starting to be like harder to find as we get older.
Yeah.
And people like that are younger, like, I don't really get it.
Yeah. I mean,
which is fine.
One of the things that Mark and I really bonded over was the movie Anchorman, again, which is like from that like peak period of you know, like early 2000s DVD, mainstream
absurdity. People weren't watching like absurd comedy, and that sort of started to get eyes on it, which I love because obviously we're into that.
Very much so.
Yeah, but the comedy insofar as like movies is has like pretty much, I feel like it's not as popular as it used to be. Like obviously, like I feel like the spectrum of popular movies right now is like Marvel kind of stuff, which is obviously, it's kind of shaky.
It's kind of comedy also.
Right. And true, unfortunately. And then the opposite side of that is like kind of like A24 dark and like super heady serious stuff. Those are kind of exists as like the pendulum of like the ultimate of cinema right now. And comedy is just kind of like it's intermittled into those things. Maybe we just
you don't get the big budget comedy anymore like you used to.
True.
No.
Yeah.
You get the streaming comedy a lot.
Yeah.
And that's like
something that you can put sequel out to.
That's true. And it is just low budget, so why wouldn't it go to just like a Netflix or something like that? But speaking of like comedy and comedy writing, your comic book is a comedy comic book. And so one thing I find like comedy is very hard to how do you say this, like portray on pen and paper. I feel like it's so much easier when like you're live and you can be like like you can move around and you hear
the
sound.
Delivery, like the timing, you can control all of that. Yeah.
And like even it's so hard to guess like how somebody will read it, I would imagine. So if you guys want to talk about it, I'd love to hear about how do you know if something's funny when you're writing it? What does that look like?
I hope it's funny. But I mean, we do a lot of bits just because we constantly do this over Google Meets. And so we have probably a much larger document of like failed jokes than jokes we've actually like written out.
Just cut that out.
So like I think like that is like in the triple digit pages, and then we have like our, little 30 some odd page scripts that we're still hammering out for the remaining stuff. But joke wise, Ben,
well, I would say like to sort of like put what you said into like a statement. It's just making each other laugh, right? Like, and then we sort of try to chisel out like, well, this only makes us laugh. This will probably make some other people. It might make some other people laugh.
It's one of those things.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to judge.
Oh, I would imagine.
Well, because like so often it has to be like, oh, you had to be there. And so like then sometimes you can take that you were there and you can retell that story and still make it funny. And I guess that's probably like a process you guys have to go through in writing that, is like, it's making me think of the Mitch Hedberg when he was just like, whenever I think of something funny, I look for a pen and paper. If I can't find a pen and paper, just convince myself it wasn't funny in the first place.
Some of the best like short jokes ever.
Yeah.
Classic. I mean, he was so good at what he did. I would imagine like it's probably one of those things like for me as somebody who doesn't write these like anything or like any comedy, I would imagine it's like best to be like, what just makes me happy? I feel like you could drive yourself insane trying to be like, is this the perfect joke? Or something like that. Just getting lost in your own head.
I think, you nailed it. We're just like, we're making this essentially like, would we read this? Yes, this is what we want to read. So here it is. And we funded it and got the first issue out just to do it. And now hopefully we can get a little bit of momentum and keep going. And we'll still be funding it ourselves for a while because we have so much story we want to tell.
The way of the beast.
Yeah. So what was the process for you guys in making this comic? Because I guess you're the publisher is B Comics, and I hadn't heard of B Comics until you guys reached out to us.
Because we made that
up. That's
really cool.
Ben, Eric, very clever stuff there. But yeah, I don't know.
We're hoping we have other story ideas that are stuff that maybe we want to write, like me write something solo, him write something solo. So we have like a flagship to put it out under.
Right.
That's
really cool.
With Outer Space, with coming up with like writing Outer Space, it was sort of like once we revisited that idea, it was like we started just talking about it. Like,
every idea we ever had is now a comic.
Yeah. So that's basically what ended up happening. But
well, good on you, man. Because like I try to sit down and like think of just story ideas, and like it's like banging a gong, like nothing happens, just empty like reverberation in my head. So I'm like, what's a story?
Right.
And, like, so it feels weird to like come on here and like criticize stories or just give my reviews of them, because I'm like, if I tried to write a story, it would just be like a reskin of The Lion King. Like,
which is already a retelling of Shakespeare.
That's true. So I feel like some like English teacher, and I'm just like, there only is one story, and it's just repeated and blah blah blah.
Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, I was gonna say the hero myth. There we go. Okay, but
we're back to that.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely more than one story and other ways to tell that.
Right.
But yeah, so like, what did you guys like find yourself like, how long was that like back and forth process before you got like serious about kind of getting into it?
A while. I mean,
we had worked on something else,
right?
Okay. But we started with that idea when we started talking, and then it was like we had, as things go, you go on like a little tangent talking about something else, and that sort of like blooms. You give that life, and then it's that little seed just keeps on hanging around. So
I think we just wanted to write stuff for fun, I think is how it originally started, and we wrote like a fictional podcast. And I think we entered the script into a podcast. We didn't get any. I'm pretty sure they just threw it away. But
it's very absurd for a podcast.
That sort of, I started like, I'll write like a prequel comic for it, and then we sort of decided to just write a comic, and it turned into like outer space idea. Because I took the intro to writing comics experience class with Andy Schmidt and Paul Allred.
Right on. And where was that at?
It's online. It was an online.
Oh, an online one. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's just like, maybe that'll, because I always wanted to write a comic. I'm like, if I don't kick myself in the ass, maybe this will like meet other people like-minded, get feedback and stuff. And I did. I ended up made the 5-page script comic that I got turned into like 12-page. I got drawn. I haven't lettered it or anything, but I have it somewhere. But like that sort of really pushed me to Eric's like, hey Eric, let's write a comic. You're a screenwriter. It's close. It's not the same because there's no like set format, right? Like it's screenplays, you have to write it a certain way or they won't even look at it. Comics, it's kind of like overwhelming for Eric. He's like, so what's the format? And like, there's not a format. You just sort of pick the way you want to do it. And so let's just be clear.
Yeah. And we wanted to be.
Oh, go on.
No, I was just gonna say we wanted to be clear with the artist too. Like,
right.
That's
Jackie
also
Venturini.
like she's like that is a whole other collaborative process too.
Yeah.
So.
No, and the artwork in Outer Space is fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It very much flowed with the story. It fit just the overall theme. Really, really enjoyed it. Like the opening panels are just brilliant. And like and also not just with like the art that she did, but like just your guys' like thought into this. And it does start off as like, you're getting yourself into a comedy, but there's always those movies that like give you a kind of a serious dramatic like opening. And like I can just hear like the music from Space Odyssey like kind of in the opening of this, and it's just like
the pyramids.
Well, before we even get to the pyramids, one of my favorite things about the the beginning of the comic is that on your like credits page you have it as if it's like info about a strain. And issue number 1 is called Sucker Punch, and it feels like that would be the strain name. Is that what we're going for?
Yeah.
So it's a indica dominant hybrid, which is honestly my favorite type of strain. THC 20%, CBD 8.8%, scent earthy, spicy, pungent, sweet diesel. There's a lot of stuff. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that being in there as somebody who looks into these things when buying his marijuana. It's cool to be able to read it on right there.
Well, Eric actually put in a little Easter egg, and I don't want to. It's a spoiler if I go too far, but so the traits that like how it makes you feel, transformative is in there. That is added by Eric. That was not on the webpage or the.
So that is actually like a true strain. So like we were,
that's all like facts, but he added that in there.
Nice.
There's a couple little Easter eggs that we have planned throughout that issue too.
That does become, and that's not just like a one-off. Really, that kind of becomes part of the story. It's not. We're gonna use that, like we were talking about earlier, like the stigma. We're kind of trying to kick that down a little bit, even though they're gonna be, getting high and doing stupid stuff, but they're just like, I mean, she was a teacher. She's just a regular person that didn't really achieve what she wanted to achieve.
I've seen.
I know my teachers were smoking weed.
I know, not even. I know people. I have friends who are teachers who either smoke or are alcoholics. So like, I mean, teachers are just normal people. I think that that's very important for like people to know, because I think that like especially like kids don't think teachers are real people, right? Like they're just like some fixture in a school, and then parents don't really think about it either. They just kind of think that they're like babysitters and then that like get their kids in trouble, and so like teachers definitely get a really tough rap as far as I'm concerned,
and it's getting worse. So so
or
at least in our states, we're in Arkansas and Texas, so
hey, at least it's not as bad as an alien invasion. Would you rather have an alien invasion?
Yeah, right.
The government, though, might be using that to their advantage. We'll see in the coming issues. The little jerks.
Yeah. Oh my goodness!
Oh boy!
We're very excited to see where this goes. I think I said this again on like the review that I had, but I can never get over this. Is one of my favorite lines is this is just my luck, off to certain death sober. Yeah, I just love that because that resonates with me.
Because pops open the box, just sees and stands like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
That was a quote from the book, but I won't do
it. No, but you're good. It was just I definitely can relate to that because I'm sure like if I was ever in like some sort of like life-threatening situation, just in general, I would like either want. I'm not a big alcohol drinker, but like I'd want to take a shot or like throw back a handle of something, or at least like rip a bong or something before I like meet my end. But that's just me. I feel
like that was sort of like the genesis in Vietnam of like the drug use was just like, well, we're all just dying.
Right. Yeah. We're just kind of here fighting this pointless thing, Yeah. So, and I think that's, I mean, again, that's kind of like crossing over to this, like that overlap between, I mean, even, we gave a warning at the beginning that we'd be talking about mature themes, but even the war in the Middle East, there was, we had American soldiers guarding poppy fields, and now there's legitimate reasons as to why they were doing that, because they didn't want to shut down local economy and crash the nation like that. But that's still the same stuff that's going into the streets and killing Americans,
Right.
So it's interesting. Our culture's weird, like we don't like drugs, but everything around us is about drugs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's interesting to see where all of that connects. Now, there's a cat in this story. I just scrolling through and saw a cat. Does this cat draw inspirations from real life?
Yeah, I just looked over my shoulder to see if she was in here, but she's gone. She's usually sleeping in here, but yeah, that kind of looks like my cats combined. Like I have a short-haired gray cat, Leela, and George. He's like a medium hair. It's like a regal look, so like that long gray.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, cats like to make an appearance on this podcast. So
usually she's in here sleeping in my chair, but
well, I've got into the habit of locking mine in another room because that just makes everybody much happier. One more thing that I just want to talk about with the comic is the kind of like the splash page of the piece set.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a good point to bring up. Yeah, because I feel like everyone's like, what the hell?
So as somebody who's like not super into basketball, there was some ones that I definitely caught. Are you guys into basketballs, or is that just kind of because these people are from Chicago kind of thing? Did I say basketballs?
Yeah, yes, I like to have dribble multiple.
He's like Harlem Globetrotters over there.
Well, like for me, this really spoke out for me, just like growing up and watching Half Baked and how they had a name for every single piece they had. And so when I was reading this page, I was like, that was going through my mind, and I loved it. It was just so funny.
Well, to be honest, that was those names. Most of them were names that my friends and I came up with in high school when we were like, let's name them all after the '96 Chicago Bulls, man. Because Luke Longley, who's not even like a great player, it just like lends itself perfectly.
Yeah.
Luke Bongley. All right, well, let's do the rest. Scotty Pippen. Yes, this is great.
I got Tony Two Tokes. I don't know who that is.
That's Tony Kukoc. Who was a very good player, one of the early like European players that did well. I used to be really, really into the NBA. Not so much anymore, a little bit, but in the '90s and like early 2000s, I loved basketball. I played.
So you got a call back here to your past.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. We actually found something out about you. You love the Spurs.
No.
Fools.
There you go. You've been outed. I just got to say, I think the best name on here, ironically enough, is probably Michael Jordank. I screwed it up.
So I like that Lamar Dixon Simpkins just got one.
This one's for you, Lubra.
Yeah, he's like a bench player. Like Eric that was his suggestion.
I keep on tagging him in things. Like he's probably
super anti-marijuana.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. So,
but well, hey guys. So yeah, I mean, we've been chatting about this. We really love this comic. We're really excited for issue 2. You guys want to talk about like where you're at with it now, what you're kind of trying to do, what the future kind of looks for it?
Yeah.
Go ahead, start, Eric.
You're so polite.
Sorry. I just I'm a rambling fool. So we have like sort of this 10 issue plan.
Nice.
Just plotted out, and we're going to be telling them like in 3 issue chunks. So we have we're working through the art of issue 2. We should have some pages here in a couple of days ish, maybe a week and a half ish. But we'll see about that. I don't want to make any promises there, but
I mean, at least without lettering. I'll letter them, but I mean, we will have a few at least without lettering.
Yeah, and we're working through issue 2. We're raising some funds right now for just distribution, getting it out there. And also through our crowdfunder. Once
with
this
with no E.
Once this crowdfunder is done, like we'll actually have like an online store, because that's part of this this platform. Right. So,
which is why we chose crowdfunder, I think. So we weren't expecting to make a bunch of money with this first issue. We just started it so we could have that storefront, roll it over to run the second campaign while we still have the issue 1 front for sale. So that was sort of the idea. And just build our following from there.
Right on.
Trying to just create a very
Jackie's very excited, our artist. She's been great and very supportive. She's doing other stuff too, working, but she's very supportive of outer space and excited for it, so that's cool. We've talked to her online a couple times.
How did you get in touch with her? How did you meet her?
So we made a couple Facebook posts to like all those like connecting indie artists kind of groups, and just like, this is what our story's about. We kind of want someone that's kind of vibes with the idea of like burnouts and stoners. Maybe you take part in the Devil's Lettuce yourself. That was like part of the post, and Jackie was one of the responses, and her art like jumped out at us, and we weren't totally sure if it was like going to translate right at first to sequential stuff, because she didn't have a ton of examples for like a sequential, but we were like, we want something different that stands out, and that's what her stuff is. And so we were like, she's like, hey, I'll do a page, just send me one. And it was like page 10, I think, when Corey and Moses are smoking in the camper.
Oh yeah.
She sent us like the sample page for that, and we were like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. It's her art just sort of seems like sort of realistic, but at the same time it's just sort of like cosmic at that. Like it's I don't know.
It's really
found
poppy.
Out it was like Tank Girl inspired her style a lot from like what she told us, and I wasn't super familiar with Tank Girl. I knew it was out there and of it, and the weird movie. But I finally started reading it. It's pretty crazy and irreverent. I love it.
I've never read it. It's definitely like been one of those on my like ever growing to like to read list, you know?
Yeah.
But speaking of, do you guys want to talk about some comics that we've been reading lately?
For sure.
Awesome. Well, would either of you fine gentlemen care to chit chat about a comic? Whichever one.
I guess my kind of follow-up question is like, what's been your favorite thing you've read like recently, I guess, like in the last like week or two?
Well, I'll go real quick, Eric, because it can tie in like what we just finished, like telling our story in 3 issue arcs. We sort of are taking that from Barbaric. I don't know if you've read any of those issues. I can't remember if that's been on here or not.
I
got the Vault comic, I believe, right?
Yeah, Vault.
Yeah. I got this.
This is like the third run, I think, and there's been like a one shot. I love it a lot. Like the banter between him and like the axe, and it like getting drunk on blood to me is really funny. But anyway, that's how we kind of got the idea for the 3 issue thing. Like, man, this is really the way it like it's tight. Like, I know you guys love 4 issues, But
we sure do.
We sure do.
The 3 issues, I mean, it's tight. It's like jumping from place to place, just moving. That's kind of what we want outer space to do, is just move and move and move. And you're at the pyramids. Now you're in Antarctica. What's happening?
Yeah. So
yeah, I would definitely say that there's a good flow in your first issue of just you cover. There's no like dragging. There's no like, why are we here? If it's not like for building the story or just, comedic purposes, everything kind of feels like it belongs. And I'm sure that's hard to do.
No, it flowed so well. Like, I think I've read it a handful of times now, and each time it was just like, it was in tune to the story, but it also was breezy, like it wasn't like super fast paced. It wasn't super slow. It was a nice breeze comic. And yeah, the banter between them, especially at the end, I don't want to give away too much because I want people to go read it and find it out for themselves, but just the ending when like all the suckers are being passed out. And just all of the banter as they start feeling the effects.
Yeah.
It was top 10 for me. And just that like banter of what's going on.
Yeah. Everybody's sort of coming to the realization that they're high.
See,
right.
I would love that. I know every time that I'm getting high. So it would be nice to like be surprised for once. I'll just be like, whatever. But this does happen to me. I'll take tolerance breaks and, not smoke for a week or something. But like, I'll just be sitting at my desk and I'll be like, I'm high right now, or, wherever it is, desk isn't here. But yeah. So how about you?
Yeah.
Oh, you find
I was just showing it. Yeah. Barbaric number 3. What is it? Hell to Pay. Yeah. Hell to Pay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I have the second arc of Barbaric. I tried to get the first arc and I just haven't done it yet. So
it was a lot of fun. I think Eric, did you get the first arc just recently?
I have not gotten that Murderous Defenses or whatever. No, I started in the second one, but what's it?
Yeah, Eric, what about you?
I have really enjoyed Gangster Ass Barista. So that's
number 2.
That issue 2 just came out today. So that's like been like the thing that I've been most looking forward to, quite frankly. Like that has been kept on getting pushed back. And yeah, that is a very enjoyable read too.
I like the art. I mean, I haven't read it, but just looking at it, I really like that art.
Yeah, it's all black and white. It's wonderful.
Which I like also.
Highly recommend it.
Yes.
Are you reading that, Monk?
I started reading it. I didn't finish it because it's kind of thick. It's not.
It is thicker, man. Like that's actually yeah.
I know I have my copy somewhere, and I was actually very happy to see that issue number 2 was on the shelf today because I was, I just hadn't seen anything. And there it is. Look at that. Yeah, I used to be a barista, so some of that is, very reminiscent from what I've read. I'm like, I can relate to some of this, but some of it I can't from what I can remember because I feel like there's violence.
Yeah, there's an unknown background.
Gotcha.
So.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But I definitely want to go back in on that because I feel like it is something that I probably should be on.
Yeah, that's really been.
I read Hairball last week too. I think you guys talked about that, and that was fun. I liked that one. Also, that cat does look like my cat, so
that's a cat. Yeah,
I
have
the eye. Yeah.
Right. I have 2 black cats, and so I'm just kind of waiting for them to like just one. I didn't really talk about this in the review, but when I was making the thumbnail for our little clip that we put up on YouTube of it, I looked back at the pictures and I forgot that the cat bites her and like 2 worms crawl out of her arms.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty nasty.
Yeah, that's very unsettling. But
unsettling horror. Yeah,
I loved how they did the art in that book. I really just can't get over the fact that I'm pretty sure it's like almost all just 4 panels. The entire. I probably have it with me somewhere.
Huh.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And just like different lay it out a little different.
Yeah, there's always scenes where she's at the whenever she's like talking to the therapist. Those are always 4, and I think that's interesting. I think that the other ones might be 2. I can't remember, but maybe they're not. Anyways, the art in that was fantastic. The story of that was like super cool. very much so excited for issue number 2. But
Yeah.
Mark, it's Matt, it's been a while since we talked about comics. It feels like, I mean, that's not true because we've literally talked last week and one time in between that we need to plug at the end. But have you gotten into anything fun in between now and then?
Between now and then, I finally caught up on Little Monsters. Are you guys reading that?
Yes.
I haven't read that issue.
Okay, then I will do as our I'll plug.
But
it
you
now
can
as our pal Ray.
You can do any kind of I don't mind spoilers if you have to talk about it either. So
yeah, no, it's just like there's consistency with Little Monsters for me, and just the fact that like every story is a new story about another character that's a part of the overall story, and each one still is just building up to this ending. And so like, did you guys also read 8 Billion Genies?
I didn't get that one, and I didn't get into that one. Okay. I kind of missed the boat.
So 8 Billion Genies, like issue 7 feels like it's the ending, like it should just be over. And you wonder like how are they going to get that 8th issue out and what they're going to tell. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about Little Monsters as well. As like issue 12 kind of seemed to wrap it up, but they still left us with, you know, what's going to happen with everything from the past and everything that's present, and how is that all going to mesh together. So I've been on that series since it started. Monk hopped off of it, hasn't hopped back on yet. He got burnt. He got burnt out on vampire stuff.
I am so burnt out. It's going into movies too. There's like there's the Renfields coming out. I'm gonna make up another movie. Nosferatu is coming out. I'm just like,
it's been like 25 years of straight.
Yeah.
But so, I agree. I mean, I like it though.
Oh, and Twilight might be getting a television series. So yeah, well, no, don't, Mr. Vampire Man. You're gonna watch it and you're gonna love it.
No. I got tricked into going to see like the 3rd Twilight movie, and I was just
wait, part 1 or part 2?
I don't know. I was told we were going to see something else, and
got to split all
the group of friends. I was like, just kidding. We're all going to see the new Twilight movie, and I was like, I'm not into this because I think I had like picked up the first book and like when it first came out, and I was like, I'm not into this. And
I mean, at least you tried. Hey, that's more. I mean, you gave it a shot.
That's true. Yeah. We should all be proud of you.
Yeah, I'm very proud.
Has anybody gotten into World Tree?
My copy hasn't
I held it
yet.
And I didn't buy it. I was like, I can't just keep adding number 1s. I have too many.
Oh my God. I mean, I can definitely relate to that. I mean, our motto has been since the beginning of the year to buy less comics, and it just hasn't happened.
Right.
I'm like,
I mean, they're getting better.
Yeah. And I mean, it's such, I so rarely look at DC and Marvel when I'm at the store, just because I'm like, I'm so curious about this other stuff, which is, I mean, I'm kind of bummed because I'm sure I'm missing out on a like, I lament not being a part of like like an ongoing series. You know, I would really wish that I had one that was like really had its hooks in me, but I just can't seem to find anything. But I just love indie stuff. And I'm also a fan of like, I'm probably more of a fan of like, just give me a story. And I say that all the time on this. So
that's one. I love that motto. I say that too.
Yeah. Well,
give me a good story, man.
Yeah. The other problem with like ongoing stories for me is like, if you've been, let's just go back and say you've been collecting Batman from day 1 and you have all the issues. There's just so many like dips, like where you're just like, I'm not into this, but I'm still going to get it. And it's also, there's so much to like keep up with just with Batman alone. Like,
and the restarts,
you got the Bat family, like you have to like be in tune with all of that sometimes to figure out what's going on in a crossover issue. If you haven't read, Harley Quinn 7 or whatever, because it tied into Robin 8. I don't know. Like,
it's tough because I read Batman, but I get it because like they're trying everything to still be connected, and it's weird. Like you can't just do that if you're trying to get new readers.
Yeah.
You got to figure something else out.
It's so interesting to me, and I've said this before on the podcast, and I'm sure I'll say everything I ever have to say on this podcast, but it's weird to me that the movies aren't pushing the comics more. I don't understand why you're not going back to your bread and butter and like being like, the Iron Man doesn't exist without comic book Iron Man. You know, that's the whole reason that the MCU is as good as it is because Stan Lee in whatever year was like, what if we had a man in a metal suit? You know, like, and
just straight like gray metal too.
Just straight. And then like 2 issues, he's like, this was a terrible idea. Why did I think that this guy would be
he was a C-list hero before that movie. No one really cared.
Yeah. I mean, he was like in the Avengers, but again, like no one cared about.
I was like, he's good in the arcade game. I like that.
There you go. Well, since nobody got into World Tree, I'll just kind of give a quick review. I think it was very like James Tynion IV of like just setting up this weird kind of creepy world. It is very creepy. And the thing with very creepy is it either gets like, it's either like, all right, that was like, it becomes generic or like kind of just like shock and awe, or it can be like really good and like really intriguing. And since we're in the mature section of this whole episode, there's like nudity in this. And again, it's kind of like how it's used in A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance. It's not about sexuality at all or like sexualized. It's about just human, just being raw and like primal,
imperfect, and
and just kind of just like this whole thing is about like this weird internet virus that kind of like it makes you go crazy kind of thing, and it seems like it's like an actual disease. The cops are coming. They heard us talking about weed.
Eric, is that you?
Yeah, I think so. I think I live right next to a major street. There's probably there's speed trap right outside here.
I thought you were gonna say I live right next to a major crime. Just the constant major crime happening across the street. So I mean, I enjoyed it. I think this might be ongoing. So I'm like crossing my fingers and being like, that would be great. But
that guy's prolific.
Yeah, hopefully. But anybody else got any other comics that they want to chat about?
I mean,
do I?
Don't be shy. I've got another one if some people need some time for me to chat.
Did anybody get the seasons have teeth?
I did.
No, I looked at it, I was like, dang it, number 1, get out of here.
No, like Monk mentioned, like one of our things this year is like buy less comics. So like a rule I've made for myself is like I can't pick up a number 1 until something else is finished that I'm currently getting. But then also with a lot of like the indie distributors, you don't really know if those are going to line up.
That's true.
Right. And we've definitely
looked cool though.
Yeah. We've definitely been on a Boom kick here. So for me, I've been like heavily tempted by everything with Boom, and this is from Boom, and it is very much a Boom comic. Did you get a chance to read it, Mad?
I did. Yeah. I did you?
I did. We won't go into it too much, but
maybe that's a teaser for next week.
Wow. Come back and hear. We're going to be talking about comics next week, everybody. Are you surprised? But anything else you guys want to chat about?
Well, just on that note, it's funny because our writing sessions are usually on Wednesdays, and we start a little before you guys. But we usually just pop up that live feed for a little while, and just kind of we're in and out on the live, but it's on there, and then we rewatch it later.
Oh, right. On.
Listen to it. Yeah. So, but we have it up and like, oh, what are they talking about? Oh, cool, we're reading that. Let's listen.
Yeah, like when Hairball was coming up, we were listening to that. And it's Red Man. We love Matt Kent too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening. We obviously really appreciate that. It's the world of comics is so much fun. Obviously, because of the connections that you get to make within it. But like, just I think we said this. I don't know. I think we said this off mic before we got on. But just looking at all of the comics behind us and like just being like, there's so many comics, and like how it's like we're just it's so nice that the thing that you love is so infinite, like it is a little overwhelming, but at the same time, like you're never not gonna have a comic to read,
I have tons of stuff on that shelf that I need to read. I'm catching up. Like I'm reading the current TMNT. That's an ongoing I'm reading. It's a big event right now. the Armageddon game stuff. But I'm going back and I'm reading the IDW from #1. I've read like I think the first 7.
Yeah, I just reread Volume 1 not too long ago. Like, I loved it.
It's great, and like a whole new take on the origin. I mean, it's similar but different, right?
Yeah, and
spicing it up for the modern world, something like that. Maybe this will be a good one to end on or something like that. But what are some go-to comics for you guys when you're just like, these are my ones that I'd love to go back to. Like for me, Old Man Logan never gets old. Pun kind of intended. Just being able to go back to that and just be like, it's great. It's never not going to be good. And I pretend that everything past Old Man Logan doesn't exist, meaning like the fact that he got brought into the main MCU and all that happy horse shit, since we're cursing. But for me, Old Man Logan just exists as that one volume, and because it's pure gold. It's chef's kiss. How about you guys? What's some? Ben's down there looking back at his shelf.
I know that I'm gonna say something later and be like, that's what I should have said.
Yeah. This dude is actually responsible for getting me into comics again. So like,
I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, it is my all-time favorite character. Since Ben brought him up, I had no idea who he was. Animal Man. So when Grant Morrison took him over in like the late 80s, man, that is just pure meta comedy brilliance. I mean, it's existential, but it's also like a superhero story without being a superhero story. That's my go-to for sure. Like,
wow.
That was I think one of the great runs of like cover artist runs too, because Brian Bolland did like this run of great Animal Man covers for Morrison.
They're absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So.
Matt, have you ever read anything of like any Animal Man? Because I don't think that I've ever read any Animal Man.
I have not. But I am gonna hop on that.
Yeah, you said Grant Morrison's runs
the run? Because like
that's what started it. Yeah.
Okay.
My answer to the question was like, I don't really have like a specific go-to, but more of like an era. And it's that like, I guess it's called the Copper Age. Is that like the late 80s, early 90s before the modern age?
Yeah, I guess so.
I love just diving in anywhere in there. Like, especially if it's some like whether I've read it or not. I love hopping into just like those old things from like when I was a kid that like maybe my mom didn't let me pick up the issue because she didn't like the cover or whatever. Like, because like
we're in the mature section, so you can pick up whatever cover you want now, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I'm also an adult now. I make my own decisions, Mom. I make my own decisions, Mom.
I'm a big boy. I can read Spawn all I want. So I looked it up. I was just gonna say the Copper Age is the 20 years between the mid 1980s and the early 2000s.
It was like post-crisis.
Yeah. Like literally, like a lot of the stuff up here looks like post-crisis. Like literally, that's how I would describe the art. Just like
I would also say on top of that, probably just for like my growing up and where I was, like my most reread comic from my childhood is probably the issue where Superman dies. I think that's what
Eric.
Yeah.
Is it called The Death of Superman?
Yeah, it's the death. Well, the Death of Superman's like the run, but like this is the issue where he dies. It's just
wow.
It's like all splash pages, right? It's just like
just big old things that you're just never gonna forget, and they just pop into your mind. And like I can remember like the page where like Lois is holding Superman in her arms. And
it's Superman 75. I looked it up.
75. Yeah.
Yep. Superman.
The black armband.
Yep. I see Lois Lane crying, and somebody's taking a picture of her crying, which seems really insensitive.
Unethical, man.
Yeah. Just like
I took some journalism classes. It's you got to be careful with that stuff.
Well, I guess don't interfere. I don't know. That's do no harm. That's anthropologist, so that's probably not the same. But speaking of anthropologists, do you guys have anything you want to say about outer space before we wrap this up? I don't know the connection.
Well, I'll just say before, since I didn't want to say Morrison's Batman is my go-to because that's something I really like. I'll just say something that really influenced me, even though it's not quite a comic, is the Berserk manga. I don't know if anyone.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
sure
Yeah, I've dabbled in that before.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
something that caught me at like the right time, like the anime, and then I was like, well, wait, there's more to the story, and then I started reading that, and I was like, okay, this is cool, and it's one of those things where the artist just gets better, and you can see it, and that's kind of a cool transition. But like, there's an arc called like the Golden Age, which I really like. It's pretty much what the anime covers, like the main fantasy Sword and Shield crap.
Nice. Well, hey, I feel like I should pull this up just because you're a good guy and I don't want to leave you hanging, but he hates the Spurs. I was just trying to
It's freaking my sister. Okay.
Yep. Hey, nothing wrong with a little poking fun. But yeah, so guys, if you're listening to this and you feels like this is a comic you would enjoy, I 100% recommend jumping on this. Linked below, we have links to the Facebook page, to the Instagram, to ways that you can help support this comic, and ways that you can get physical copies. You guys just are starting to sell those now, right?
Yeah, they came out
just now out
today, and there's available in Austin, Texas, in Austin
in
my Tribe,
in my local shop also.
Yeah,
that's
really Rock Bottom Comics.
Shout out to Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yeah. So the two places you can buy your guys' LCSs is what you're saying.
Like, right now,
currently,
or you can go on to our crowdfunder.
You can order them online,
and
right on.
Or hit us up, man.
But yeah, thank you for giving us a little coverage. We're glad you liked it, and we're gonna get more out.
And shout out to Jackie Venturini, the artist. She's been great, just amazing. Like,
yeah,
awesome.
No, I'm looking at a few of the panels right now, and I just commenting on her art, but it's just.
Yeah,
there's one panel where it's just like you can see the depth of the room. Like it's like you're I can't say what page it's on, but it's one of the last few, probably. I don't know.
Okay,
she puts somewhere in there little details in there just for fun, and if you like zoom in, like, what does that say? Oh my god, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about, because I'm looking at it's in the like training the base Bandcamp, bandcamp.com. churchesandtrains.bandcamp.com. Check out my music.
They're in their bunker and they're all in their beds. It's just like
I think that one there's like a pool of sweat that has a reflection in it too.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah,
yep,
she's
I'm looking at that. Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, that's a fun page.
And just a tease issue too. It starts off like absolutely wonderful as well.
That page though, I know the last thing on that is it kind of bothers me because I lettered the book, and I know that it's somewhat confusing sometimes because I was still learning to letter. It'll be better as we go forward.
He did a fantastic job.
You did, there's nothing in there that I would have. Yeah, good job.
And he also was able to create the rhythm of our humor through lettering as well.
That was a good part about the letter, and I could add I could move some stuff around, delete some stuff at the last second that you normally wouldn't get to do if it was just regular.
Yeah. It's like
better letter,
another rewrite. So yeah.
Well, like the past couple of guys that we've interviewed, like I like to ask them what the letter is to them, and they both kind of similarly said like they're the drummer of the creators. Like they keep the
Rad.
beat. Yeah. So
it's like the great ones, you won't even notice them. Like when you notice them, they're doing a bad job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like such a unsung hero kind of way. It's like movie scores, you don't really kind of notice movie scores until like later. You're like, oh yeah, unless again it's bad, then you're like, what is happening? Like if, for example, if Wonder Woman jumped on screen and somebody shred a guitar. But I'm just pulling an example of things that would probably never happen if I was making a story about a woman that lived on an island.
Death metal, did you?
No, I guess I didn't. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for coming on and for hanging out with us and for chit chatting. Before we close, I just want to say that we were featured on our Good Pals, the Comic Book Lair, with another pal, our buddy Ross. So there was 5 of us on a podcast. So if you think that this was a lot of people, that was just one more. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. We spent pretty much the entire episode talking about 8 billion genies and just kind of summing that up. So if you're curious about our thoughts on that, go over and check that out. I don't have it linked below, but if you're listening to the playback, it will be linked below then. But Mark, you want to?
Do those normally? I'm sorry. Do you normally do like little deep dives? Are those they focus on one thing when you kind of guest with them?
No, this was kind of more just like a special thing where like all 5 of us had kind of been waiting for this issue to come out. Okay. And we knew that they were going to have our buddy Ross on. And then I just kind of threw out like, it'd be really fun to do like a round table on this comic. And they were all on board. And so we hopped on, but like the intent wasn't necessarily just to talk about that one, but that's what we ended up doing the entire, but no, it was a ton of fun. I actually listened back to it today and just spurs new thoughts on the issue. So, but that again, like that's just something I love about like comic book culture. You guys being able to come on here is like there's great stories out there. There's great stories to be read, but like the most fun part about it is talking about it with your pals and just saying like what it meant to you and like how did you get there? How did you arrive at that? Like I love that about deep diving into comics. So. And with that, it's just like, thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah,
so,
thanks for having us.
I'd love to come back if in a few issues or an issue or whenever.
Yeah, for sure.
We can definitely figure something out. But Mark, I think it's time for you. Let's take this horse into outer space.
Yeah, put it on a rocket
and shoot it. I was going to say let's get a horse high, but we keep being mean to this horse. But I guess Well, I can't say if a horse is being high, if it likes it or not. I don't know. It's not for me to put a horse in that situation.
One of the great questions of life.
It's great. Do horses enjoy being high? Wow. Well, some things that only science can answer. Science and God. So we'll leave it up to them. Mark, where can people find us?
People can find us at the Pullbox Pals on Instagram. You can find me at Matt_nerdy on Instagram. You can find Monk at that Monk guy on Instagram, and pretty much everywhere else you can find us at that Pullbox Pal or at Pullbox Pals.
Yeah, get that the out of there. We're not the reboot of Batman.
I like to add thes to things.
But so does any creative
find us
person.
There. Yeah, and if you're watching, please like and subscribe. If you're listening, do the same. Leave a review. It really helps us out. We really enjoy talking comics with people.
And again, thank you guys so much. And when I read your comic, I like to say that I don't have the outro music pulled up yet, but then I like to say I haven't read comics like these in years.